President Gonzalez, we are streaming.
Great, thank you, and welcome to the Board of Education meeting for December 3rd, 2025. I call this meeting to order. I want to remind those who are speaking during tonight's meeting that we do use the closed captioning function on from YouTube, so please speak as clearly as possible. Now I'd like to ask that you stand if able and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance in English and Spanish. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. We'll move next to our acknowledgement of tribal lands. We gratefully acknowledge the Native peoples on whose homelands we gather, as well as the diverse and vibrant Native communities who make their home here today. I'd like to now ask for a moment of silence for those who have given their lives in service to their country. Thank you. We will now move on to our roll call. Dr. Albright, can we have a roll call, please?
Bernardo Tomorito.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Javier Romero.
Here.
Josefina Dominguez.
Here.
Heather Benavides.
Here.
Janelle Astorga. Danielle Gonzalez.
Here. We will now move on to our agenda adoption. So is there a motion to consider adoption of the December 3rd, 2025 Board of Education meeting agenda?
I move to adopt the December 3rd, 2025 Board of Education meeting agenda. Josefina Dominguez.
And this is Crystal, a second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Tomorito.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Javier Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Danielle Gonzalez.
Yes. Our next item is to consider approval of the minutes from the Board of Education meeting on November 19th, 2025, and the Special Board of Education Charter Schools meeting on November 12th, 2025. Can we have a motion and a second, please?
I move for approval that we would approve the minutes from the Board of Education meetings on November 19th, 2025 and November 12th, 2025.
I'll second. This is Board Member Dominguez.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Bernardo Tomorito.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Javier Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Danielle Gonzalez.
Yes. Our next item is public forum. Do we have Board Secretary Astorga online yet?
No, we're having some issues with Zoom.
Okay. Do we have anyone else prepared to provide the instructions for public forum?
They're coming. They're coming. Go VP, go.
Thank you. So Vice President Jackson, can you please lead us in instruction for public forum?
Be happy to. Welcome to our public forum guests. When you signed up to speak, you were asked to review the rules and expectations which our presiding officer will enforce. The New Mexico Open Meetings Act requires that our agendas specify in advance the items that will be discussed and voted on during the meeting. Therefore, public forum is not a dialogue among speakers and board members, but rather a chance to hear from our community. We will call participants to speak in the order they signed up, whether in person or virtual. Those here with us tonight will be asked to come to the microphone at the back of the room when your name is called. Online guests will stay in a virtual waiting room until it is your turn to speak. We have set aside 45 minutes for public forum. If there are 22 or fewer speakers, you will each have 2 minutes to speak. Otherwise, you will have 1 minute. Tonight, we have
11 speakers signed up.
11 speakers, so you will each have 2 minutes. Once your time is up, you will be asked to quickly wrap up. If you feel unable to convey your message, you may email boarded@aps.edu. In addition, for those of you who are with us tonight, a representative from the Service Center is here to assist you. So, Mr. Gonzalez, will you please invite our first guest?
Thank you, Board Member Jackson, and all of our public forum guests are in person tonight. We will be starting with Dr. Sinello, followed by Rosa Ortiz. Dr. Sinello, you have 2 minutes once you begin speaking.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the school board. As you already know, I am an alternative health doctor and minister. 3 months ago, the state legislature passed vaccine immunization, which will greatly devastate the children's health and well-being. Should you be very concerned as members of the school board? Imagine this. This is you and your very own child. In 1955, Qatar polio vaccine pulled after 10 deaths. In 1976, swine flu vaccine pulled after 20 to 50 deaths. In 1990, RotaShield vaccine was pulled after 10 to 15 cases of bowel obstructions. 2025, chikungunya vaccine pulled after 3 deaths. Now, COVID-19 vaccine, 500,000 plus deaths not pulled. That's crime against humanity. Did you know Africa is only 6% vaccinated and COVID has practically disappeared, and scientists are baffled? New 300,000 person study finds just one COVID jab significantly increases your risk of various cancers even years after. The same chemical that is used to stop the heart of inmates on death row, midazolam to sedate it, and vicuronium bromide to paralyze muscles, potassium chloride to stop the heart is also in these vaccines. Influenza, afluria, trivalent, and quadrivalent. MMRV, ProSquad, varicella, varivax, rotavirus, rotarix, and Sartor shingles, according to CDC. You can't make this thing up. How do you expect the APS students to perform academically and athletically? You all know we're still dead last, 58th in education in USA. As a concerned citizen and taxpayer, what's your actual, real scientific evidence-based plan of action for students and health and well-being? Thank you. May God have mercy on us and APS.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rosa Ortiz, followed by Yair Chavez. Rosa, you have 2 minutes once you begin speaking.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So I came here to talk about Siembra Leadership High School. My experience with APS has always been not as my expectations needed. I am a student that has had a disability in my legs for a long time, along with chronic illness. Siembra Leadership is one of the only schools that ever provided me with the amount of care and need I needed as a student, not only as a student with needs, but also as a student who didn't have enough education. I didn't get credits throughout most of the high school, but Siembra Leadership has helped me recover most of my credits and has also helped me with all of the expectations I needed from teachers. Due to the amount of students that we have at Siembra Leadership at this night school, it's able to help each and every individual as a student because of the fact that we're not competing against other several students just to get that expectation and need we need. Along with Siembra Leadership, we also like the fact that they provide much more care and efficiency that they have with work. Most students, about 90% of students, complete their work and do really well with it compared to other APS schools. Thanks to that, most students here either graduate on time or even earlier, and most students are met with their academic needs along with health or mental needs that are needed from other APS schools that aren't provided. I am now able to go to school comfortably without having to worry about being a burden to teachers along with principals due to the fact that they all make everyone comfortable and every student there feels like a respected individual, not just another student. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to speak about my school and I'm glad you're all here to hear me about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Our next speaker is, I believe it's Yair Chavez. Oop. Alma Holguin. Mariah Chavez. Okay. Mary Herrera, followed by Andrea Sandoval.
Thank you. Good evening, school board members, superintendent, and Madam Chairman. So Governor Lujan Grisham has signed the new vaccine bill into law. And she is my governor as well as everyone. She was voted into office. I may not have voted for her, and that it was my responsibility to vote, but she is my governor, and I will respect her for that. But that does not mean that I have to agree with everything that's going on. This particular vaccine, it's just come into for me to know about a study that finds 250% there's an increase in chronic disease in vaccinated versus unvaccinated children. I thought this was very interesting because this particular study was done to reveal that vaccinated children would have less chronic disease than unvaccinated, but it proved the opposite. So the study looked at rates of chronic disease in 16,511 vaccinated children versus 1,957 unvaccinated children. And the study concluded that exposure to vaccination was independently associated with an overall 2.5-fold increase in the likelihood of developing a chronic health condition when compared to children unexposed to vaccination. This association was driven primarily by asthma, atopic disease, allergies, for example, eczema, autoimmune disease, and neurodevelopmental disorders such as ADHD, developmental delay, speech disorders, etc. This study was performed by scientists and doctors who were trying to prove that those who claimed harms from vaccination were wrong. Instead, this study found exactly the opposite of what they had set out to prove. Now, what I did was there's a certificate of exemption form and instructions. I have a copy of both. And if anyone ever needs one, I think these should be made available and printed out at the Early Childhood Development Program centers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Andrea Sandoval, followed by Savannah Salazar. You have 2 minutes once you begin speaking.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Blakely. My name is Andrea Sandoval. I am a senior at Technology Leadership High School. I'm here tonight because tech has not only shaped my education, but has shaped my confidence, my opportunity, and my future. At Tech, our life skills classes taught me how to understand my transcripts, plan realistically, and stay on track for graduation. Even after 4 years, when I realized I was lacking a health credit, Tech didn't let that become a barrier. Instead, they gave me a meaningful opportunity to earn it by planning and facilitating 3 school-wide health days. I utilized my resources and assembled a team of professionals to educate students about the connection between mental and physical wellness and introducing them to healthcare careers. That experience showed me I was capable of leading, organizing, and helping others. I was also able to explore real career pathways through MESA. I learned about opportunities in STEM fields. Our Friday capstone classes connected me with programs and resources in my community. My internships taught me the importance of responsibility and professionalism. And being a Tech Ambassador intern showed me how to represent my school and my community with purpose and pride. But what truly makes Tech special is the support behind all of this. Our teachers, social workers, and other staff members just don't focus on grades. They check on us and our well-being. They listen without judgment. They build genuine connections and relationships with us. They talk with us, not at us, and that made school feel safe and supportive. Even when school felt a little overwhelming. With smaller class sizes, I've never felt just like another student. I felt valued, understood, and worth investing in. Tech gave me more than credits. It gave me confidence, direction, and a future I am excited about. I am graduating because the people here believed in me until I learned to believe in myself. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Savannah Salazar, followed by James Santaguida. Thank you, sir. Savannah, you have 2 minutes once you begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Savannah Salazar, and I'm here to talk about my experience being at Siembra Leadership High School. I'm a senior now, and I have been at Siembra for 2.5 years. Going to public school had always been a struggle for me, and I had felt so out of place. I was very behind on credits and classes, as well as mentally struggling and feeling alone. A threatened school was a blessing in disguise. Siembra had changed my entire perspective of high school as a whole. I see the students and staff as family. Our teachers treat us as equals rather than putting themselves on a higher pedestal. Our advisors provide important and direct attention towards each and every one of their advisees, which makes us feel very special and seen. At Siembra, I was given the opportunity to catch up on credits as well as having one-on-one learning experiences. I've also been given the opportunity to get ahead in credits, do volunteer work, college classes, initiate senior activities, spirit weeks, and more. Our school helps us succeed by giving us opportunities like online credit recovery programs, early graduation, night, day, and online classes, as well as entrepreneurial programs that gives us skills in business, not only for now, but for our future and for our growth. Everyone I interact with always knows how thankful I am to have found a second family, hands-on learning, and love throughout my school. I am excited to be graduating with Siembra because I never thought I would make it to graduation, and now I will get to say I did. But not only that, I will be graduating with amazing people, beautiful experiences, and thankfulness in my heart. Siembra isn't just a school for learning, it's a school of culture and something to take pride and appreciation in. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next speaker is James Santaguida, followed by Leslie Gonzalez. You'll have 2 minutes once you begin speaking, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James Santaguida. I'm a licensed clinical social worker at Siembra Leadership. And just like Savannah was saying, like we are really a family there. There's parent involvement, student involvement. Students actually love coming to our school. They tell me straight up, like, I have no anxiety when I show up. I'm actually looking forward to come because we do take care of them in so many ways. We have a food pantry, we have a clothing closet, we have washer and dryers for our students. We have Roadrunner that comes and distributes food to us. And this school is a last chance for a lot of our students. They've been, kicked out for whatever reasons from other schools, and they come to us, and with open arms, we take them. And once they graduate, a lot of them, they love to come visit us. Not many high schools can say that. See, another thing too, certain case with one of our students, she unfortunately had to leave to another school, and she was continued to be bullied. And so she was able to come back to us, luckily, and we were also happy to see her. I cannot emphasize how much a family like Siembra Leadership is. Let's see, and we're a safe place for our students. The world is tough out there, like with home life too. And so students come to us. We have a huge student support team. I'm one of many social workers there, and they let their emotions go. We really emphasize building relationships at our school. That's the primary goal. Then we work around everything else. If students are comfortable with coming to school and talking to all the staff, then everything else can flourish. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Leslie Gonzalez, followed by Renee Pacheco. You'll have 2 minutes once you begin speaking.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Blakey. Mi nombre es Leslie Gonzalez. I am a senior at Technology Leadership High School. I am here tonight because Tech not only has shown me how to be a leader, but has also shown me how to advocate for myself. It has helped me build my confidence to be successful at life. At Tech, in our life skills classes, not only do they show us community service, but also how to plan for our future and how to stay on track for graduation. Y aunque he estado en Tech por 4 años, fallé un crédito de álgebra 2 en mi tercer año de preparatoria. Y Tech logró hacerlo fácil en poder recuperar ese crédito antes de graduarme este año por tener credit recovery. Having access to internships have taught me the importance of responsibility and professionalism. Mi internship me enseñó cómo representar a mi escuela, mi comunidad, mi propósito y orgullo. Being in LIA has made me realize the importance of my culture and how it should always be appreciated. Pero lo que hace Tech tan especial es el apoyo que hay detrás de todo esto, que nuestros maestros nos guían al futuro y nos ayudan a estar preparados en la vida adulta. The teachers and staff not only worry about our grades, but worry about our well-being and our problems, and they do that sin juzgarnos. For everything mentioned, I see that Tech is different from other schools. I feel safe, wanted, and cared for here at Tech. I have been able to build relationships with not only other students, but with the teachers and staff at the school. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And our last speaker tonight was Renee Pacheco. And you'll have 2 minutes once you begin speaking.
All right, good evening. As a teacher, I am held to a law not to bring harm to the children in my care. You, as members of the school board, have the same responsibility, yet you are allowing adolescents to be exposed to pornography in their school libraries. And students are being misled to think that doctors can change their sex. First, allowing adolescents to view pornography puts our children at risk of being sexually violent or being the victim of such a crime. The students are more likely to have sex early, unsafe sex, and multiple partners. This leads to abortions, sexually transmitted diseases, and teen pregnancy. Second, telling children that they may change their sex or gender is simply not true. It is not about a name or pronouns or reproductive organs or clothes. So much more actually needs to change to be from male to female or vice versa. A girl's heart rate is faster, metabolism is slower, her head is shorter, a broader face, less protruding chin, and shorter legs. Even her blood contains fewer red blood cells, and every cell must change to transform XX to XY chromosomes. Giving them pills does irreversible damage. A male becomes sterile, and a female is unable to conceive or breastfeed. The pills also cause depression and a higher risk of suicide. Stop this cruel, godless insanity.
Thank you. President Gonzalez, that completes public forum.
Thank you to our public forum guests. Our next item is agenda item 5.1, which is to consider acceptance of progress monitoring report for interim goal 3.2, which is related to career pathways. For this agenda item, our presenters are our superintendent, Dr. Gabriela Duran-Blakey, Dr. Randy Mullerwine, Deputy Superintendent for Leadership and Learning, Sherry Jett, Chief Academic Officer, and Chris West, Executive Director of the Office of Accountability and Reporting. As noted, tonight we'll be monitoring interim goal 3.2. But before we begin, we do want to confirm that the monitoring report is complete. I do believe that all the criteria for an effective report have been met, but did want to open it up to other board members to see if anyone else thinks any component of the report may be missing. Does anyone have any evidence that suggests any element of the report is missing? No, great, seeing none. We will agree that the required elements are present, and we'll go ahead and open up the floor to our monitoring conversation. As a reminder, we did have an opportunity to ask questions that were technical or tactical in nature in advance, and those questions were answered by the administration, posted for the public, and also emailed to all board members, so they are available with the public with the agenda materials for everyone to see. Now, each board member is expected to ask a question during the meeting to help us better understand how the administration's actions align to this board goal. Those questions are expected to be SMART, which means they must be strategic, measure-focused, ask-oriented, results-driven, and time-bound. So let's get started. We'll go ahead and start to my far right with member Tom Morito.
I wanted to start off with page 4. Looking at the key observations by the student group. Students with disabilities, 57.9 of 11th grade students with disabilities earn credit in at least one career-connected learning course by the end of 2024 to 2025. This was a 1-year increase of 12.4 percentage points. My question to you is, I know based on the disaggregate data, that in there we stated a little bit about the twice exceptional students. Would like to know, with that 57.9%, could you give me a breakdown of twice exceptional students versus the general special education students that are in that percentage?
President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakey, Board Member Tomarito. We will provide you with that. We don't have it in this graph, so I don't want to give you anything that's incorrect, but we'll make sure we do that. And then I will also go ahead and promise that we'll do that for 3.3. So you don't need to ask that question next time.
Okay,
So thank you.
I would appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Jackson.
Okay. My question, just to orient, is on page 6, and it is within the strategy where you discuss empower schools with high quality instructional materials and qualified CTE teachers. Specifically, I want to focus in on the second bullet point that discusses partnering with local universities and the public education department to recruit and license new CTE teachers and help existing staff earn endorsements. I think what you have hit on there is something that I know I hear a lot about in the community, is that we have natural resources here with the labs, with people that really want to help, community members that are willing to help, but they aren't allowed to because they have the wrong credentials and wrong certificates. So what I would like you to please do is drill down a little bit more on the planned course of action you have regarding that, and what actions will you take to bolster staff in order to provide students with more relevant, experienced educators.
Board President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakey, Vice President Jackson, and members of the board. I'd like to start out, first of all, saying right now we have all of our current CTE positions full. And we're able to meet the kids, their needs today with a full staff. To answer your question, we anticipate in the future with our academies of Albuquerque, as we implement them and we scale that we probably will need more CTE teachers opposed to less than them to CTE teachers. And so our HR department has done a great job filling all open positions, and they'll continue to do that. To answer your question more specifically about the community and partnering with labs, partnering with the greater business community and all aspects that fall into the technical education, the career and technical education, as our academies of Albuquerque grow and we create pathways and we get very intentional on what our students are going to take to get the most out of their 4 years. What our pathways will do is our freshman academies will identify talents, identify needs, aptitudes, and also student wants, because we're going to give them a more comprehensive exposure for career exploration. Intensive career exploration. As that happens, in the meantime, we will be building partnerships with all the different industries and businesses that exist in Albuquerque. We began a great relationship with Sandia Labs. We're working to establish a greater with quantum computing. We know AI, we know quantum computing, we know the STEM is really going to be heavily influence our community in the future. When we talk about bringing industry experts into our classrooms, I would like the board to think about them as adjunct faculty. They come in and they work with our educators. They don't work in lieu of them. And what we want to do, it has to be a comprehensive twofold approach. One thing we want to do, and we actually spoke about it today, and we want to try and launch it in its first form this summer, is how do we provide our current teachers externships in the summer? How do we pay them to go out and spend a week, spend a bit of time in the workforce environment, whether it's Sandia Lab, whether it's at Netflix, whether it's at Honeywell, any of the companies that we're partnering with, we want to find paid externships for our teachers to go out there so they can experience what that work looks like. Then we want, as we partner, we want to bring the industry experts into the classrooms to work kind of like as co-instructors side by side with our teachers. But it can look a number of different ways. So to get into the industry certifications and the qualifications that ED is asking a highly qualified Albuquerque teacher to have, we're not going to need that. That is generally qualified for what we refer to where I came from, and I'm not sure if it's the same language here, but teacher of record. So a teacher of record has to meet the state requirements to be that teacher of record. That is the teacher that is, for lack of a better term, the main teacher, the teacher of record who issues the grades, who the class is assigned to. But what we're looking to do is build a system where our industry experts come into our classrooms. Our teachers are the pedagogy specialists. They are, experts in pedagogy, designing lessons, implementing research-based instructional practice. They are experts in utilizing the high-quality instructional materials that we pay for them. That is not what industry would do. Industry would bring in their expertise, partner with our teachers side by side to give our kids a different experience in the classroom, an experience that takes content and cross-curricular instructional modules and connects it to outside of school relevance so the kids can see themselves in their future. What we need to do is to show children how this content that our teachers are experts at, and they've been, forming it at a high level the last years from looking at the data and from my observations this year. How do they connect that content to outside of school relevance so the kids can see themselves in the future? Why is that important? Because when I've talked about this before, people are probably tired of it. Being able to see a pursuit to mastery, to be able to see a connection between what you're doing now and your future is research-based and highly motivational. We want kids to come to school. Well, how do we get kids to come to school? We make school relevant. So when you ask your question, we don't have to get them highly qualified. We just got to get them fingerprinted like we do any volunteer. They can come in the classroom. I have experience doing this, and I can help our team. Our team's phenomenal. I can help our team understand a little bit of the framework, and then sharing my team, you just kind of put them in action, and they just execute. We saw it at the convening in October, how well that went off. That was a team. So you get them, you get an approach, you get them fingerprinted, they come in. But when you look at technology, I can share with you one of the greatest experiences that I've seen is kids working in collaborative groups on real world projects on their phone, FaceTiming with an industry expert who's in the lab in Los Alamos. That's what we're looking to do. We're not looking to replace our teacher. Our teachers are irreplaceable. They're experts. They've gone to school. They've been in the classroom. They're experts in pedagogy. We're not looking to replace them. What we're looking to do is give them outside of experience so they can understand. A lot of our teachers are like me. I've never really worked in the outside world except in the summer and when I was in college, right? Other than that, I've been a career educator. So I would say, hopefully, I'm an expert in being an educator. I'm not an expert in being an engineer. I don't know what happens in Honeywell. So we put them together. So the Honeywell works in partnership with our teachers to help our teachers understand what that's like. Our teachers work in partnership to understand, and they build the pedagogy and the plans, and they work together. It all revolves around, one of our big initiatives is work as a team. And so I hope that's a long answer to your question, but this 3.2 directly aligns with our Academies of Albuquerque work. We are working, it's in the early stages, it's in the early development. And what I'm trying to do with our industry partners is saying, slow down. They want in right now. They want to know how they can help us right now. They want to write checks and send people our way. we got to get our system in a place. We got to communicate to our leaders, communicate to our teachers. We need our leaders and our teachers to build the system so then we can include them in, but we're not going to have to worry about highly qualified or PED certifications because they're not going to be teachers of record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Follow up to that?
Only if Dr. Mahlerwein promises to stay within a 2-minute.
Madam President, members of the governing board, Dr. Blake, I made no promises. I want to answer the questions comprehensively for you guys. I think I owe it to you.
Good answer.
This is what I really appreciate is that as I was reading through this document, I kept thinking, well, this is Academies of Albuquerque. Where is the discussion about this? So, so thank you for drawing it out on that very particular spot because you answered my question. I thought we were going to have to go out and get all these people certified. It sounds like they're going to be working in parallel with our educators and just kind of adding experience to what our educators are going to be doing. Just as a follow-up, you mentioned that the industry experts are there and are ready and are knocking down the door wanting to help, which is fantastic. How are we going to keep them motivated to continue to want to be knocking on the door to help us while we are getting our ducks in a row?
Madam President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board. So that question,
and how can the board help you with that?
I love the question because it's a major stressor for me because we have to have time to build the system and get it correct. What we've done a little bit is we kind of let it out of the barn a little early, and we're kind of getting it back together, getting it very organized. One of the things that needs to happen that our team is working on we're very focused on getting the communication right to our administrators and our teachers. We got to get our administrators and our teachers to understand the vision and what this is, because there's a lot of misinformation out there on what the academies are. In the meantime, it's important that our educators understand a little bit, and it goes back to the first question, that they cannot be replaced. We need our educators and we need them to stay very focused on what they're good at. What we want to do is build the partnership. But to answer your question, Dr. Blakey does a great job communicating. I don't know how she finds the time, but communicating to all stakeholders outside of her job of running the 35th largest school district in the nation. So she's spreading the vision. Since I've gotten to Albuquerque, anytime I've been asked, anytime my team's been asked, whether it's Dr. Salazar, Mr. Harris, Ms. Jett, we are sending our people, we're deploying our people out to share the vision. We got to get the vision right, and we need to let them know what the vision is. We're being very intentional with it. We're being very comprehensive and intentional in our planning, and we are going to involve you. So letting them know where we are at is the first step, because they're business. They understand there's a process. They don't want APS to do something haphazard. Trying to watch my language. They want us to be intentional and get it right. And by communicating our vision and being on the same page, we're being able to do that as a team. As we do that, we are still going to be offering our students that are ready the opportunity to have internships. It's not going to be, what I'll share with you is we got to do it early before we're going to be great. We have to start. And so our students that are ready now, we are going to deploy them into the workforce to do internships. And as people are ready to come in and teachers are ready to have them, we're going to let them come in as guest speakers. We're going to slow roll everything, but we will get it right. In 2 years, we will have a comprehensive plan. We have systems. We'll have people in there very intentionally. But we're like, I use this term, I might sound like it might not be for everybody, but we're at the beginning of the beginning. And you got to get at the beginning of the beginning where you can be at the beginning, then you can get into a place where you are executing at a high level. A lot of our team, This is new to them as well. I'm lucky. I've been working in this space for 4 years. I know how it plays out, but it's my responsibility to communicate to everyone what this looks like, how to get intentional, and how to build this comprehensively so we can involve people and we're not wasting people's time when we're doing things at a high level. So we're communicating the vision, we're getting the vision right, we're letting people know where we are, what we've done, what we're going to do, and then we're explaining next steps. And what we're hoping that people understand that there is a process, but when people, we're not turning anybody away. And it's a little overwhelming because we got a lot of people that, hey, we want to meet, we want to talk about how do we get involved. And some of it is like, we got to kick it down the road and say, well, can we meet with you here? We're not ready yet. We want you, but we're getting it, we're going to get it right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sorry about the length of the answer.
No?
Thank you. Member Tapia Romero.
Thank you. So to keep it on topic with the academies and talking about when we're on page 5. And in relation to the strategies, specifically, how would you say that they align, overlap, or even you've seen that they could have even presented challenges that you're proactively trying to plan for and looking ahead, like making sure that we're fulfilling this requirement? What does that look like?
Madam Superintendent Blakey, members of the governing board. A lot of this is about advisement and intentional scheduling. We have all the components in place to meet goal 3 and to meet goal 3.2 across the board. Where we're finding that where we need to improve and how we need to continue to increase. This is great. These are great numbers, but how do we increase that? It's about communicating clearly, not only the vision, but what the responsibility is of our counseling force, what's the responsibility of our 8th grade to 9th grade transition, what is the responsibility to get our next step plans, how do we get our kids to select, get their courses, their course selection, and then it's about looking at scheduling and it's about looking at a time frame to get things earlier, like in place earlier, so we can get the schedule right. We had some questions that came across, good questions about, are we going to reach capacity? How we meet the needs of all the kids? We take course requests. We look at these next step plans from grade 8. That's how we get 9th grade right. We look at the course requests from our current high school kids. We get them early. And then we build our master schedule and we schedule them accordingly. We don't know what the future will look like exactly for course requests, but we have the staff in place right now to meet those needs. And then we have an HR department that's very motivated. We have conversations all the time. And as soon as we know where we're going to need additional support, they have a plan to, recruit and hire the people we need. But to answer your question, it's about advisement and it's about intentional scheduling, but our staff cannot be intentional in scheduling and advising until they understand the future, until they understand what this looks like. So that's why we're trying to do it all comprehensively at the same time. Our strategies that overlap are that advisement and that intentional scheduling.
Yes, yes. So, and I hear what you're saying there, and I get that we need like the solid data to be able to make a decision going forward, but what is that going to look like in terms of our turnaround time? Are we going to be able to implement that in a way that is going to be effective quickly for our students? Or are they going to have to wait? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Madam Superintendent Blakey, members of the board, we have the time, we have the will, and we have the expertise. We'll get it done. Yes.
Okay. Let's roll.
Let's roll. All right, Member Dominguez.
I'm going to continue with the thread here. So I'm going to go back to your answer about teachers are pedagogy experts. But from the feedback I'm receiving, too many of them are not feeling that way. So how is leadership engaging practitioners, their professional advocates, and how has staff voice impacted the design, for example, of the freshman seminar that is mentioned on page 5? Yeah, and what data do you have that supports your answer?
Yeah, Madam President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board, I want to start a little bit on where the uneasiness is coming from, and then I want to hand it over to our expert, Chief Jett, and she can talk about how her department's being very intentional, listen to teacher voice and building professional development. The shift, when we developed the profile of a graduate, it was a call to action that we had to educate kids differently. What we have been doing in education across this country, and why profile, portrait, however you want to, of a learner, of a graduate, there's plenty of like these attributes that parents, community members, and business want from kids: critical readers, problem solvers, collaborators, that type of. We know that the traditional stand and deliver approach and some of the traditional aspects of traditional school haven't worked and haven't executed. So our teachers are feeling a little uneasy and unsure themselves, because we're going to be asking them, and they understand that we got to get into deeper learning practices. But then what does that mean? That means cross-curricular lesson planning. It means multidisciplinary lesson planning, design thinking, inquiry approach. These are highly complex ways to teach. Our teachers have had some training in it, but they haven't actually been asked to execute it or have done it over a period of time. I'm not saying all teachers, I'm just saying some places. So it's our responsibility to start getting the right professional development in place to meet the needs of our teachers. And so I'm going to turn it over. I think that should answer the uneasy. Why is there uneasy? Because change is uneasy. Because when you've been an expert in your field for a number of years, and people are saying, we need you to pivot, we need you to change a little bit, there's a little anxiety. It's no different than leaving a state that you lived in for 28 years and trying to do something different in a new state where you don't know anything. You feel a little bit anxious and you don't want to let people down and you want to work hard, but you're not really sure what that's going to look like. It makes you feel a certain way. So I think our teachers, it shows they care, that they feel that way, and they're speaking up. But I want to turn it over to Chief Jett, and she can explain what her department is doing to ensure that we are going to get the professional development right and get the teachers the supports that they need so they can be successful. Thank you. Chief Jett.
Excuse me, President Gonzalez, Superintendent Duran Blakey, Board Member Dominguez, thank you for the question and the opportunity to talk about how important the teacher is in this particular initiative. So one thing that I think is really resonating with me is definitely the messaging and making sure that our narrative is clear and people are truly understanding what it is we want to do. And so as we do that, there are basically sort of three, I don't want to use the word pathway, 3 places that we are implementing, and we are getting our message out, and we're also learning a lot about how to do this work in the very best way. The first is the really groundbreaking work that happened at Valley High School and now at Rio Grande High School through our Engineering the Future and Sustaining the Future pathways. Through that particular work, we were able to learn a lot about how to engage community voice, how to engage teacher voice, the types of professional development that really set teachers up to be successful for this. And as we move into this academies model, we've really learned a lot, particularly just because of the timing from Sustaining the Future and how that information has rolled out and how teacher voice is a part of that. And using that information to think about, okay, now how do we scale up? The second place where we have implementation are those 3 pioneer schools. So Manzano, Cibola, and Highland. And so also thinking about how do we message there? How do we ensure, based on what we've learned from Sustaining the Future and the work in the Rio Grande feeder, that we are indeed considering teacher voice and making sure they get the same kind of high quality professional development that we know is necessary, the type of collaborative personalized, inquiry-driven work that we're talking about. And a lot of that is around project-based learning, right? And problem-based learning and making sure it has real-world relevance that a student can see beyond the class, beyond the desk. The third area then is the rest of the comprehensive schools, right? As we prepare them to begin to launch this. And I will say every time we do it, like we're learning and we're getting better at it. And so we are able to provide not just the high quality professional development around inquiry-based learning and personalized learning and connected to community and career, but also how to differentiate it for the staff based on newer teachers, veteran teachers. They have very different needs and they have very different mindsets sometimes too about how we can incorporate this work together. And so through those opportunities to hear and think about, okay, who is on this staff and what do they need, we're able to differentiate in that way. I think the last thing I would consider is, and I want to make sure I talk about the freshman seminar, so I will answer that one too. Is that a lot of our coaching has come through our partnership with Ford NGL. And so that has been a really valuable partnership just in terms of especially how we help sort of that middle cohort of schools to elevate teacher voice and to think about, okay, what is it that we need? And so, you know, studying, researching, learning lessons, and then implementing first different, then better along the way. The freshman seminar design has been, so when we develop curriculum frameworks for any new class, we have a pretty specific process that we follow, and it includes classroom teachers who are coming in to help write that. And while I don't know the exact classroom teachers who are a part of this curriculum framework development, I can assure you that that is a key part of the process of anytime we develop or even review a curriculum framework, is we make sure we have the practitioner at the table to help us make sure that it is relevant. We do have the expertise of the pedagogy and then also the content expertise as well.
So I have a follow-up. On two fronts. I think what I remember when I was asked to change, I didn't mind changing. What I did mind was not having the supports, and you recognize that. Classroom conditions matter. And I've just recently spent a lot of time with one of my favorite high schoolers over Thanksgiving, and her complaint, she likes the inquiry-based, and I remember trying the Socratic method, you know, circles, the outer circle, the inner circle. But when you have too many kids, and that was her complaint, it's like we really don't have time to say what I didn't have time to say what I wanted, and there wasn't time to have an exchange from the outer circle. So while I applaud, you know, the ideas, but there are some real structural circumstances that still plague us. And that's been 40 years since I tried the Socratic inquiry-based. So just in terms of how I think it would, so this leads to, how are you choosing the teachers who are designing all this? Because I think it matters if who picks my voice, so to speak. So how real is that voice?
Madam President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the governing board, we're relying on our schools and their instructional councils to make those decisions, and we're letting the schools make the decisions on who's involved and how they're planning out some of this work in regards to the development of the academies and who, like right now, and if we're looking at our middle grades redesign, we're letting those teachers that are in those classrooms build that interdisciplinary unit. What we're doing is we're providing support for them, but they're making those choices. They're the ones who get to answer your question, they choose.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Do I have time for one more, or should I?
Is it a follow-up or a different line of?
Well, it is about the academies and yes. So, and then this will be it on this topic. What role does the fine arts play in our CTE vision? And I ask because the arts are intrinsic to our cultures here. And so we're growing, and we have a growing and thriving film, music, culture, but that's what we're known for. I mean, we look at jewelry, we look at pottery, and I mean, there is this whole sector. So how are we accommodating that interest?
Madam President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board, I've heard a little bit of concern on where does the arts fit in on this, and the arts is going to fit in. Some of the areas of arts is going to fit in like they always have. They'll be elective, and we're not going to scale back our electives or anything like that. Students are still going to get their choice for electives, and whatever electives the student choose, those are where our offerings are. Some of our areas like film, which is something that we know is a really critical piece to our economy in Albuquerque, we have created an academy where film, digital, media, entrepreneurship, that it can fit into a pathway there. Again, who makes those decisions? The site leader with their instructional council. And once we know what schools need, we will work on our end to make sure they get what they need to support those programmings. But like, for example, if you're a school, you might have an arts pathway under an academy. Another school may choose not to, but that school will still have all the electives, and arts is important. Arts is every bit as important as athletics, as other things, because we got to have a multitude of ways for kids to connect to school. And so none of that is going to go away in any form, but some areas like the digital media, the film, they may end up under an academy into a pathway, and we hopefully can get them some sort of completer certification or something. Also, we want our kids that are in film, are in digital media, to go into internships. We are also working on ways to bolster the arts. And it goes hand in hand. So publicly, I'd like to say that we honor the arts. We talk about it quite a bit, and the arts is going to stay strong in Albuquerque Public.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Benavides.
Thank you, President Gonzalez, and thank you all for presenting this evening. I want to acknowledge that my questions were submitted late, and I apologize for that, but thank you for taking the time to answer them, and I will try to do better in the future. My question is in regards to the gender information provided, and basically it says both female and male 10th grade students experience one-year increases, 13.9 percentage points and 7.1 percentage points respectively. So the females increased more than the males did. And so my question was, what targeted strategies could be implemented by the end of the school year to help increase male participation? And you all responded that you plan to expand hands-on demonstrations in CTE courses, such as welding, automotive, digital media, culinary, cybersecurity, using student ambassadors, high-performing students, and industry partners to showcase real-world skills. So my question is, what specific proven strategies will be used to recruit male student ambassadors and industry mentors?
Madam President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board. I want to clarify a little bit of the data for you on this. So historically, males have dominated the CTE world. And what the data didn't show you is the data you just mentioned is correct. We saw basically a 14% gain for females, and we only saw a 7% gain in males. And when you look at that question makes a lot of sense. However, I would share with you is what we did was we closed the gap by 100%. And so do we need any additional strategy to engage males? I think our strategies that showed that we gained 7% and 14%, those strategies are working. So we want to stay the course. What we did is we looked very specifically at closing the gender gap in an area. And we're proud of what we've done with our female. And what we'd like, honestly, what I'd like to see happen is I'd like us to stay the course, because right now, when you look at our gender, we're 67% of male and 60% of female. I'd like us next year to be 75 and 75. We really want to change. We know there's nothing that a male can do that a female can't do. It's just about it's about establishing belief in some of the traditional thought processes, is breaking that tradition. And so I think what we really believe will work is, again, the advisement, the intentional scheduling, the bolstering of the academies and the pathways. We think our strategies that are in place are going to work. And I think the data when you look at, we closed it by 100%. And we're really proud of that. So I think that my answer is probably not maybe what you were expecting, but we think our strategies are working. And when we find something working, we want to stay the course. When we find something not working, we want to be humble enough to pivot. But in this case, we think it's working and we're going to stay the course. But we're proud of what we did with our closing that gender gap.
I suspected that was the case, but thank you for confirming it.
Thank you, Member Benavides. We do also now have Member Astorga online. So I wanted to turn to Member Astorga, see if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you, President Gonzalez. I actually have somewhat of a follow-up to Member Tapia Romero's question. May I ask that and then follow with my question?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Thank you. So we were speaking a little bit about systems that will be in place and getting students into the correct pathways. So my question is, are counselors and registrars receiving annual training on pathway sequencing and credential opportunities, and how will we assess their impact on student enrollment patterns?
President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board. Again, it's a good question, and here's my response is that we're at the beginning of the beginning. We're building a better Albuquerque Public Schools, and we're implementing an initiative that's new for everyone. So we're in the early stages of communicating the vision. I actually, on January 5th, I'll be standing up myself in front of all the counselors and establishing clarity with our vision and taking questions and working directly with Dr. Salazar on our next steps. The counselors have received training in the scheduling of courses and all the things that the counselors normally do. However, when we haven't delivered the extensive the critical aspects of each of their schools and the pathways, because they're not completely built yet. So we're not positive on how we need to communicate to them, and they need to work specifically with their sites to figure out what each kid wants at each particular site. But Dr. Salazar's got a comprehensive plan on training our counselors and communicating with our counselors. He's worked in preparation to be here, and he's also built out the plan for the future. But again, we're at the beginning. So your question is spot on, because it's something that we're very aware of. We have a plan for, and we're going to begin executing that plan January 5th as we live into the future of our academies of Albuquerque.
Thank you. I think this is very exciting, just from someone who took CT classes and knows how important they can be for students. Just the fact that we're thinking of the systems being able to be put in place that are going to help not only flesh everything out, but give better opportunities for students is really exciting. And the fact that we're already surpassed our goal is amazing. So congratulations. And I think it's great work. And yeah, I think the more that we can make sure that we're not only putting the system together, to make sure students are enrolled, but also finding the sequences for credential opportunities is going to be, you're really, really awesome. But yeah, so my question is, for this report year of 2024-2025, how many and which grant resources were fully spent down? And is there a noticeable link to measurable increases in students earning credit in pathways that lead to credentials? So simply put, what pathways are more popular, and are there any specific grants tied to them?
Madam President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board, I don't have that information readily available. It wasn't something that I thought about or anticipated.
Which is fine. It's a tactical
Answering.
question, so we can just acknowledge that
Well,
and provide it afterwards.
Yes, ma'am. I would love us to have some time to do that. See how that grant's been spent. And then again, the second part of the answer was, we don't have our pathways built yet. Again, our schools are going to be building those. The autonomy is with our schools and our teachers. This work cannot be done without teacher voice and teacher input. Once those are established, probably this time next year, I might be able to have a better answer, but we can get how we spent the grant money for you, and we can email that and send that off. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I acknowledge that was a tactical question. Thank you, President Gonzalez. And just a follow-up, I think it would be really great to know, just as a board member, when we're looking at budgets, to see, how many students are enrolling in what pathway, so that we can make sure that we're getting enough funding for those, especially if they're tied to specific grants. And if there's any grants that are not fully spent down, is there a rollover, things like that of that nature? But I understand that we can get that later. But that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Member Astorga. I wanted to kind of pick up a little bit where Member Astorga left off with sort of the congratulatory remarks for the district. We really jumped right into our questions, which is great to dig into how we're going to continue to see progress. But I did want to acknowledge, I don't think we have media in the room, but for the public and everybody, just like what a tremendous increase this is. If you just turn to the graph, the primary graph with the data on page 3, and look at the 3 prior years, from basically 2021 until 2024, it's essentially stagnant. Like, we are sitting really at 51% across the board from semester 1 to semester 2 to annual. And then we see this 10-point jump. And so I would posit that it's the intentionality around meeting the goal and the interim goal and the strategies aligned to those interims that are leading to that jump. But regardless of what it is, it's awesome. And so if we think about just this 10% increase in 1 year, and also like how far we're blowing the school out of the water right now, like what are the possibilities to come for the years ahead? So I just wanted to express congratulations and appreciation to all the staff for the work and commitment to get us to this point of this really big increase, which I think is really just about more opportunities for our kids. So just thank you to the staff for that. My question is related to coherence. And I think if we think about some of the core components of sort of coherence in the education literature, you've described a lot of that already in the report itself and in your answers, in terms of having a clear direction, having collaborative structures, having deeper learning for our students. The sort of piece of the coherence definition, at least from Michael Fullen, that I'm not seeing yet, is really around accountability. And sort of the way that that's described is not top down, but accountability from inside out. And so my question for you is, what strategies are in place or can be put in place? Are you considering to sort of get that fourth component of the coherence framework and really build accountability for coherence for this goal, career pathways from the inside out?
Madam President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the governing board, first of all, thank you for your kind words. I think that falls on Chief Jett and Dr. Gonzalez, who led this work. I didn't do anything to get these numbers. I'm just here now. So I really want to recognize that if the numbers go down next year, I guess we know who to be. to answer your question about accountability, I feel like this progress monitoring that we're doing right now is a major part of that accountability. This is that we look at these numbers. We talk about this data inside our meetings all the time, and we're talking about how do we get better at things all the time. But really, I feel like this is the accountability. This is the accountability to live into the board's goals, answer your questions in detail. When you guys give us questions and we don't have answers for, that's a call to action to go figure out an answer and put something in place. But also our accountability metric is when we're not on track, what are we doing different? When you're on track, what worked and what can we do better? And so to mention accountability, you can specify like who specifically or what section of our employees we're talking about holding accountable. But I feel like the accountability for this work is happening right in front of you tonight. And of course, I'm the person to be held accountable for it. So I think maybe you might want to clarify the question better for me in regards to that. I see our progress monitoring. We have a PMOC committee, which Sherry Jett runs, and I can tell you she runs it very tightly, and we have very specific conversations about all our initiatives, and we get very critical, and we have a team that to be quite honest, has a lot of transparency and honesty with each other. That's what we do behind closed doors on one of our floors, depends on the day. That's how we hold ourselves accountable. But then when we come here with the data, this is another layer of the accountability. In regards to schools, in regards to the schools that we supervise, if you want to know about that accountability, I would say the word that we use more is about coaching. It's about being better every day. I don't think accountability kind of can get a little punitive. Well, our principals and our teachers are all doing something new, and we have to give them permission and give them some safety to do something new. If we talked, when my daughter was 9 months, if I would have scolded her about falling down the first step she took, she might not have taken that step. And what we want our teachers to do and want our principals to do is start taking the steps. And so it's about coaching, and it's about, like board member Dominguez mentioned the word, Socratic, and that's what we want to do. We want to use that method of coaching and ask our principals, okay, what went wrong? How do you get better? How can we support you more? That's the approach that we're taking in our schools. We're not taking a punitive approach when we talk about our academies of Albuquerque. We're talking an approach that we're at the beginning, we're in a learning stage, and all we're looking for is that effort for that first step, and then the effort for the second step. We don't want to get into a punitive world, otherwise innovation will die. So I would say, and the person that needs to be held accountable by the school board is myself. And I think this is the process in which that accountability takes place.
Great, thank you. Yeah, you answered the question, and it was about not just the board down to superintendent to deputy superintendent accountability, but from the inside out. And I think you described that with the PMOC, the coaching, the fostering ownership, shared ownership in the work. So I think in particular, just really thinking about the principal role with all of this. So it's very helpful. I just threw my pen, but we will go ahead and open up the floor too. Thank you. Any additional questions? Member Tomorito.
This goes back into page 5 on next step plans to guide course and pathway choices starting in 8th grade and updated annually. My question is based on our kids with disabilities, especially with transition plans. And I know previously my question was stated as, are we doing both next step plans and transition plans for our kids with disabilities? Because the other thing that I want to really reiterate is House Bill 171, because within the House bill, it states that if a transition plan meets the qualifications of the next steps plan, that we should use the transition plan. I just don't want to create confusion for parents and for teachers that one, we really adhere to either or instead of trying to do both of them. So I don't know whether or not that those changes have been made, because I did mention that in our previous meeting about whether those two plans were being used. Because my concern otherwise is that, especially when we get into the graduation with the 3 diplomas for kids with disability, the standard, the modified, and the ability. How is that going to create confusion? And so I just want to know, what are those next steps for our kids with disabilities? And is it either or on next steps plan or transition plans?
Yes, Board President, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board. I appreciate that question, because the last question was about accountability, and you know, I mentioned that this is the place where you hold us accountable. Your question 2 weeks ago spurred a conversation behind closed doors to get that kind of sorted out. And so the question, again, holding us accountable to getting things right. Sometimes we work, and so I would say that this team works really hard. And sometimes we overlook things because we're working hard. We had a conversation. To answer your question, we're going to make sure that those transition plans have the components that need to have it, so they don't have to do both. So to answer your question, transition plan for our SPED kids is where we landed on that. There was a little bit of a debate that went back and forth, but I believe that if we have the components that need to be in the transition plan, we can do that, and that's where we're going to go in a direction with. The other thing I would say is, and I can let Mr. West here talk about the diploma if need be, because I'm new to that a little bit. But I'll share with you, we're really excited about the data in our SPED kids, 13.4, 13, almost 0.5%. We want to maintain that, because we want our special ed kids, regardless of their diagnosis, to see a future. And so I just wanted to point that out, because that, again, that's not my work. That's Chief Jet's work. And I want to point that out because that's good work, and we're going to maintain that. But to answer your question, we're going to stick with that transition plan.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Other additional questions from board members?
Yes.
Member Dominguez.
First, I love the inclusivity of the freshman seminar. I can't say enough good about it. I'm happy to see it. And it bodes well for our most vulnerable, and also for building, I hope, empathy and a sense of belonging. How will the design be especially sensitive to our undocumented students? Because what haunts me is a story that I heard from a graduate who described his high school years as an impending doom as he got closer to graduation. Because as everyone else was getting excited about graduating, he felt like he was going to be lost. He didn't have any direction. So that story informs this question.
President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakey, members of the governing board, I don't know if I can answer the end of that question on how we can work with some of our students on some of those issues, on how they feel possibly about their future. But I can talk a little bit about freshman seminar and the work we're doing to bolster the inclusivity. We're not just going to rest on our laurels. So the board knows about our middle school redesign model and our teaming model. And what we know from research, and it's clear that mobility has a negative effect on achievement. It also has a negative effect on belonging. So what we have done is we have adopted, and we're at the beginning again, but we have embraced our partner in ASU, and we're going to bring that same model to a freshman seminar. I have a lot of experience with this model, and I'll share with you that it does boost your inclusivity, and it does boost your sense of belonging. And kids that have been in that model, and you'll be hearing this by the end of this year from our sixth graders. They want to be in the model again. They want to stay in a cohorted, smaller environment. They build connections. They also share teachers. One of the things that we don't talk about a lot is that not all human beings connect. We know that. And that's adults and children, children and children, adults and adults. So when you have a one teacher, one classroom model, sometimes an adult, there's a couple of students they just have a trouble connecting with, or the other way. When you take our teaming model and you surround them with multiple adults, it creates an environment where almost every child, if not every child, can find an adult to connect with. We know that one adult influence can be the difference in a child graduating or dropping out. We know that's important. We know in the bullying prevention, a one friend is the difference between a child hurting themselves and not. It's very clear in the human dynamic research that one solid relationship can mean the difference between negative and positive outcomes. So we sent 5 of our high school principals. You might know one of them, went to Arizona, and I think they had a great experience. I got really good feedback. I've been following up with them as a group. I'll be following up one-on-one, and we're going to implement in our freshmen, we're going to have freshman teams that operate with freshman seminar and boost your inclusivity, boost your sense of belonging. And so I've been in this work a while, and I can tell you in the beginning, we didn't get it right. And we learned and we got it right. We got it right eventually. And I can share with you that the group of freshmen that I would say it's a school that is just like Atrisco Heritage, has all the same components, right? Kids in struggle, kids in poverty, or Yazi Martinez type of children, but it's in Arizona. Plus 7% graduation rate on kids that started in a freshman compared to the other group. 7% in 1 year. I mean, that's unheard of in a graduation rate increase. Why is that? Sense of belonging and being able to see their future in the school as they went into academies. So when you talk about hopelessness of a child, I feel like that's data. It's anecdotal data, but it's data that shows that hopelessness is disappearing and kids are staying longer. They want to be with their group. They're making that one friend, that one teacher connection. And that's what the design is for. We will see positive outcomes, but it's more about inclusivity and connection and giving our kids a vision of hope for their future. That's what our academies are about. We were together last night and I spoke about it. It's about kids having hope for what comes next. And it's a hard time for adolescents right now. And that's why we're driving this initiative, and we're going to execute it because we want belonging, we want inclusivity, but more than anything, we want to still hope back into our students and our children.
I guess I'll just say this. I'm looking at the text of the answer to question number 3. APS will design freshman seminar as a heterogeneous mixed ability course focused on identity development and career exploration. And it's that piece that I think is going to be critical to be in tune with undocumented children. And I have another question before, but I want to look around and make sure that everyone
We can circle back around. I just want to check with Member Astorga. Do you have any additional questions?
I do. It's somewhat of a follow-up to the discussion that we were just having around undocumented students.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Do we foresee any barriers with students who do not have a social security number? And are there any pathways that counselors are taking to make sure that they get provided some type of ITN number if needed?
President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board, 0 barriers. And if I hear of a barrier, I'll make sure that the barrier is eliminated.
Great, thank you. And are we currently, do we have any pathways in place for any students who are wanting to seek things like work permits or anything for once they graduate?
President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakey, members of the board, we haven't had a discussion on that. There's discussions that are going to be taking place as we start building out our internship programs. I will share with you, I've been working with YDI. Yeah, I always want to say YDL, but YDI on their workforce development and their next steps for kids when they graduate. So their partnership will be one that we'll look into and be hopefully providing those opportunities for our kids when that stage of their life occurs.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Board Member Dominguez, for bringing up this topic.
Great. Thank you, Member Astorga, and we'll turn back to Member Dominguez for an additional question.
So, yeah, I just want to recognize how impressive the sheet is, right? The increases. And so I encourage the public to access that goal, the interim goal 3.2 supplemental. Is it the supplemental graph lines? Is that the name of it? And so I don't want to lose sight of that, but I feel like I need to bring something up here. I recently, like this morning, received 3 monitoring letters from PED regarding the Perkins grant. The letters made clear that APS had not yet met several federal requirements as of April of 2025. The requirements affect student access to high quality CTE programs. Many of these findings were identified in 2023, raised again in 2024, and remain either in progress or not addressed in 2025. And I want to be very clear, these findings have direct consequences for students, especially the students who rely on career pathways to graduate with skills, industry credentials, or post-secondary opportunities. These findings also, I fear, could potentially impact these great outcomes. So let me transition to the strategic question that's connected to Goal 3.2. We have a goal that 10th grade participation in a first career connected course increases from 53.5% to 59.5% by 2027. That's a 6% increase. But the state's findings show that we do not have a systematic plan to move students beyond a first course into a full pathway, nor do we have reliable guidance systems consistent with funding practices or strong internal controls. So on accountability and pipeline, what is the district's plan aligned to the required PED strategies to move students from a first course into a complete CTE pathway through concentrator? I hate these bureaucratic vocabulary. Concentrator being a student who has taken at least 2 courses in one pathway, and ultimately to a completer status. And I think I'm tying that to finding number 1.
Board President Gonzalez, members of the board, I'm a little I don't know what letters you're talking about that you received.
So I also just want to acknowledge that we need to hold our progress monitoring conversation to the content contained in the report. So maybe Member Dominguez, if you could reframe it directly to content contained in the progress monitoring report so the staff can answer. Well, otherwise I think it would have to be an RFI.
Or, okay, but we are talking about CTE pathways and whatnot.
But
Um,
just to clarify, it's not the topic of the report, it's the content within the report.
And so I will happily
Share.
provide you with the 3 letters, and these are letters that were addressed to the previous superintendent and to you in 24 and 2025 in April after PED came to interview the district leadership.
I might have been confused on your question about the letters you received, because I thought you meant you received letters today.
Well, I became aware of these letters.
I can speak to, connected to the progress monitoring report. It's important to know that Perkins itself is a very narrow focus of when we talk about CTE.
Okay.
So Perkins, if you think about it, is a little bit confining in what it's talking about. It's only for certain courses, certain pathways. The career connected learning and academies is much broader. It's not as limiting. And so Perkins itself is just, think of it as like a little sliver within a broader context of career connected learning and CTE. So we have a lot of classes that are not Perkins funded that are career pathway classes. And so Perkins is merely a funding source connected to very specific pathways. So this, what we're looking at here in the courses are much broader than the Perkins defined classes.
So what exactly is Perkins funding? What portion of this big vision?
It's almost $1 million in Perkins funds. And then we provide through operational funds, $500,000, a little over $500,000 to schools for career connected learning. That could be for anything. It doesn't have to be for Perkins programs. It could be for anything, and every school has an allocation of that.
The 500,000. But does Perkins, I mean, several weeks ago, we had lots of culinary arts people in here, which I suspect is part of the bigger vision for CTE. Is that what it's funding? What does the Perkins grant, because it's so narrowly defined, what does it have to fund?
I think that is a question that's not related to the content in the report. So I think you can reward it to the content in the report itself, or you can submit it as an RFI. So we're talking about career exploration. And so what part of career exploration is the— Member Dominguez, just to clarify, again, our guidance on the progress monitoring reports is that our questions need to be about what's in the report. So there may be a whole host of issues related to career pathways, goal 3, et cetera. But if they're not reported to us within the report, if it's not the data that's there, the superintendent's planned action, the superintendent's interpretation, it is not supposed to be part of our progress monitoring conversation. So you can certainly continue to probe. I just want to highlight that you're out of bounds for this progress monitoring conversation. I'm encouraging you to submit it as an RFI. I know it would get answered.
Yes, thank you. And so what I will do is I'll piggyback off of Janelle, Board Member Astorga's, what classes are popular and what's paying for what. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board members, are there any other additional questions related to this agenda item? All right, thank you. So now we must vote on whether we will accept the progress monitoring report. And so as a point of clarity, we're voting to accept the report as a formal acknowledgement that we had a satisfactory conversation with the superintendent and the team, and that we have a deeper understanding of how the current reality for students lines up with our community's vision for them. So in order to accept, we must be able to answer yes to the following 3 questions. Does the reality of the report meet the vision for the goal? Is there growth toward the vision? And is there strategy and plan sufficient to cause growth toward the vision? I'm seeing nodding. Yes, all right. Then the board can go ahead and accept the monitoring report, confident that the data is accurate and that the superintendent is performing. So at this point, we're ready to entertain a motion to accept this monitoring report.
I move that we accept the monitoring report. This is Board Member Benavides.
I'll second this as Member Jackson.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Dr. Albright, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Renaldo Tomorito,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
I'm not sure.
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Danella Storga,
Yes.
and Yo Gonzalez.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on to, and thank you to the team again for your work and your presentation. We will go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is to consider approval of the renewal contract and performance framework for Siembra Leadership High School. For this one, we have available to answer questions, Dr. Joseph Escobedo, Senior Director for Charter Schools, Julian Salinas, or Jules, so the Governing Council President for Siembra Leadership, and Edward Ramirez, Interim Executive Director for Siembra Leadership High School. Board members, do we have a motion and a second to consider this agenda item?
I move we approve for the renewal of the contract and performance framework for Siembra Leadership High School. This is Member Jackson.
And this is Member Tapia Romero. I will second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. And to acknowledge again, we've had an opportunity to review the materials, to ask questions in advance that are technical and tactical in nature. And so I will open the floor for any additional follow-up questions or discussion from the board.
I have a question, please.
Member Benavides.
Thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you, President Gonzalez. This is exploratory, so forgive me if I'm completely out of bounds, but I'm doing some research and I'm curious because it doesn't state it in the report explicitly. So if I've missed it, I apologize. But is the governing body up to date with their required trainings required by law? Okay. And how do you monitor that?
Thank you for asking the question, President Gonzalez, members of the board, Superintendent Blakely, and particularly Board Member Benavides. We have actually a unique model in our board, in our governing board, in that we have our Vice President, Kelly Callahan, is an expert trainer for board trainings, and so she incorporates really project-based learning within the context of the board. In addition, we also have board retreats and staff board retreats.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any additional questions or discussion from the board?
I have a comment, President Gonzalez.
Absolutely. Member Astorga, go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge all the students that came out and spoke for both of these schools and just say thank you for taking the time out and sharing your experiences with us.
Yes, thank you. Everyone in the room is like nodding vigorously. We all appreciate that and thank you for raising them, putting that out. Seeing no additional questions or discussion. Okay, we have one more question. Member Dominguez, you have the floor.
My question references page 15, I believe, in your packet. The New Mexico MASA scores for 2023-24 indicate that in math, and I'll wait till you get there. In math, Martinez-Yazzie students and others are at 100% at a novice, well below state expectations. And given your mission to equip students with tools to innovate through voice and opportunity, how will you prepare 11th graders to know enough math to function in a city where we have high-tech demands as well as subcontractors that hold a significant number of jobs in those areas?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey.
We recognize that our school is unique, especially in the population that it serves. As you heard from the students behind us, they come from a traditional setting and have experienced less than success. But with us, they have found success. And we recognize that to get to that level, there's a requirement of relationships. But we also recognize that academics are priority. Last year, we contracted the company Bellwether Consortium, which is referenced in our charter renewal document. That company came out and interviewed many teachers, did observations around our school, interviewed not just the teachers, students, parents, community members, but administration as well. They created a detailed report about the instructional practices of the school. At that time, I was moved over to curriculum and instruction in the school and set out a vision to improve our instructional success. Part of that vision included creating annual plans that go beyond the 90-day plan as required by the state. And we have one for special education, multi-language learners, as well as tier 1 general education instruction. Part of that annual plan included the hiring of 5 instructional coaches, 1 for each grade level and 1 for our virtual program. The intent was to hire 6, but funds are difficult. Each one of these performance instructional coaches is there to provide in-time real feedback and coaching support to our teachers who are instructing our students. Knowing that math, among the other subjects, is an area of weakness, it is part of their priority. We have monthly benchmarks for our teachers to meet, and they meet weekly to ensure that we are on track to meet those. Additionally, we have put into place a system of 2 monitoring meetings, often referred to as MLSS by the state. We have 2 of them per week, one to focus on the social, emotional, and holistic needs of our students, as well as an additional meeting solely to focus on the academics. All the information that is contained about our students regarding IEPs, multi-language levels as assessed by the WEDI assessment is compiled into a universal data sheet available to all teachers at that grade level. That universal data sheet is referenced in these meetings and is often, is updated regularly with the student performance. This is our way of trying to increase our scores as outlined in the recommendations of Bellwether and our New Mexico Vista scores.
And I do feel like I need to say this. I recognize that not all charters are equal. I know that some charter schools take on, help the district with a needier and a population that faces more hardships, more than their fair share, right? But my dilemma on this dais is always how, okay, I understand that a sense of belonging is critical. And I heard that tonight, that students feel supported, they feel seen. And what student doesn't want to be seen? I mean, our traditional neighborhood schools, we have lots of kids there who want to be seen. And I'm really happy to hear that you hired Bellwether to help you come up with a strategy for addressing the academics, because I'm also tired of hearing how it's so complex. Charters are doing better than Albuquerque Public Schools with Martinez Yazzie children. That's disingenuous also. So I appreciate your response and the work that you're doing to get 5 instructional coaches.
Forgive me, Board Member Dominguez, I left out another critical component.
Okay.
We've also asked the Big Picture Learning Network which is an international network that follows the same model that Siembra is trying to emulate. And that model is built on a strong foundation of advisory and relationships with a critical lens on project-based learning, student voice and choice, and developing students' projects. Big Picture Learning also came out to our school, did their own success study and made recommendations in which we have begun to implement in conjunction with the Bellwether Report, knowing that our model is at the beginning of the beginning. The reality is we don't have to create something new. There's an international network that has found incredible success in doing this. And we are working to transition to become New Mexico's first Big Picture Learning school.
And so do they work with this population?
They do. Several of our staff members, including myself, have gone to site visits all over the United States, including, I'll be there in Harlem, New York next month, where I will be engaging in a learning session around a Big Picture school and how they serve students there, not to directly emulate that particular program in New Mexico, but to learn from it and build for the success of our school.
I see that you have 5.1% American Indian Alaska Natives. So how do you address their needs?
We take an approach through education through project-based learning.
Mhm.
And through project-based learning, we open the opportunity for our students to have voice and choice. While many traditional schools name their classes after their credits, we name our classes after the intent of our credits. One of our classes, which houses our social studies credits, we refer to as our social justice class. The intent of that class is to look through the historical practices of our nation, but through the lens of our own students. They develop their own projects based on their understanding of the standards that are being introduced to them, and use these projects to create an exhibition that is representative of themselves, not what the school is asking.
Great. That sounds exciting. And I have one final question, and I think this is mostly for maybe Dr. Escobedo. I'm confused about the chart on page 10 that says Siembra leadership demographics compared to APS. Siembra has 55.5% direct certified, which is Title I students. Is that correct? And APS only has 35% Title I students.
We will verify that number and get back. I don't have it. But I believe it's the same number that we've used for the other schools.
Right. But I thought our Title I numbers were considerably
Direct
higher.
certification is those students who are directly certified through the state government programs, and that is a different number than the
Oh,
state's now
this
using.
is recent.
But this is their new process, and we'll get you some more information on that. We do have a presentation that we did with our charter leaders from Mr. West's office.
Okay. And I misspoke. I have one more structural question for you. And it's kind of the elephant in the room. I know that there's been some upheaval at Siembra, and I'd like for you to talk about that and how you overcame the challenges to arrive at where you are now, moving forward, and how that has perhaps impacted students, and how you hope that this new model will impact students moving forward.
Board President Gonzalez and Board Member Dominguez, I'm going to turn it over to their governing council president to give you a little, legal response to where they're at. And so I want you to keep that into perspective and we did want to make sure that you understood, that's why we went, another board meeting
Correct.
further than the other ones to give the school, time to complete their investigation. However, that investigation is not.
President Gonzalez.
Sorry, if I may, I just want to acknowledge that our responsibility is to approve the contract renewal based on the recommendation presented to us by the staff. So that is the information that we are to consider, and the recommendation is to move ahead with the renewal, given that they've completed the process and the site visit, and the APS administration, APS administration has determined that you have complied with the law. So that's our responsibility. Whether or not anything else is happening, or historical context, or anything related to anything else is not related, or is not to be related. So regardless of what your answer is, we should not take it into consideration as we make our vote. And so I just wanted to say that, answer that as you wish. But also I would just want to acknowledge that you don't have to answer that.
I appreciate that, President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakely, and Board Member Dominguez, and Governing Board. I understand that there is concern. However, I can say with full confidence that I have seen our administration, our staff stay absolutely 100% committed to our mission, and more importantly, our students. And I would take umbrance with the idea that there has been any changes to our mission or our commitment to our students throughout this transition, or this current investigation. There hasn't been any, and we are looking at this as a personnel issue.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a motion and a second. Are there any additional questions? All right, then Dr. Albright, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ronaldo Tamorito,
Yes.
Brittany Jackson.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Danella Storga.
Yes.
And Yo Gonzalez.
Yes. Thank you. The motion carries. We will go ahead and continue on to our next agenda item, which is agenda item 6.2, to consider approval of the renewal contract and performance framework for Technology Leadership High School. Available to answer questions, we have again Dr. Joseph Escobedo, joined now by Oscar Quinones, Governing Council President for Technology Leadership High School, and Cynthia Ramirez, Executive Director for Technology Leadership High School. Do we have a motion and a second to consider this agenda item?
I move to approve for the renewal contract and performance framework for Technology Leadership High School. Member Jackson.
And this is Member Tapia Romero. I will second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion from the board?
Yes.
Member Dominguez, you have the floor.
You can go first. Okay. Welcome. Good to see you, Cynthia. It's been a while since we've spoken. And it's been a long while since Mr. Gonzalez and I have spoken. But it's good to see you both. So I'm going to jump right into it. The data reports show that the school is struggling to meet the needs of Martinez Yazzie students on the New Mexico MASA. And I want to be very clear that it's on the state achievement test. I also want to reiterate that I know that not all charter schools are equal. Many charter schools take some of our hardest lived experiences, right? And I know that you're trying to do the best you can. And yet, you know, we ask our traditional schools hard questions, as you just witnessed, and I feel like for the sake of equity, I have to ask these questions as well. So I'm looking at the New Mexico MASA data, and I'm curious as to why there's no data, no reporting data for English language arts and mathematics, and we've got science, though. What is that about?
So President Gonzalez, members of the Albuquerque Public School Board, and Superintendent Blakey. At this moment, when it comes to our Yazi Martinez students, we have a greater responsibility. And so in addressing that, we have implemented several things. We've implemented SPED interventionists, ELL interventionists. We use Renaissance 360 as a short cycle assessment. We have contracted with charter schools testing to do PD on our data and how we drive our work. One of the things when it comes to the ELA and the math, we are very aware of what our students need, what grade levels they come into our school with, and then how to move forward through cohorts, through PD, through project-based learning to address their needs.
But I guess though, I don't understand why there's no report. There's just a blank under 2023, 2024.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about that either, about why the data.
Yeah, so this is a report we get from the Public Education Department, so we will follow up on that, get that to you. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
And also, we did not receive the 24-25 reports at all.
So I know President Gonzalez, members of the APS board, and Superintendent Blakey, as far as we get those reports later on in the year. And so we'll get them in the spring or the previous year. And so we can get that to you.
Okay. All right, so the reports that come to us are always 1 year behind, and in this case, in some sections, 2 years behind. So I do want to note that there was in ELA, there was an improvement, right? From 2021-22 to 22-23. And so could you comment on what in those years, what is it that that changed?
So President Gonzalez, members of the APS board, and Superintendent Blakey, what we have done is implemented quite a few things. So we have implemented cohorts so that our teachers are going by MLSS data, also their project-based learning data, their proficiency scores. And so we have implemented the Renaissance 360 freckles to close those gaps. On average, our students enter with a 4.8 math level, grade level, and a 5.2 ELA grade level as of right now. And so when we talk about proficiency in a project-based setting, we are looking also at how do we close the gaps in their learning. And so for the ELA interventions, we have also implemented the ELL interventionists. We have implemented the SPED interventionists, and we have also used our cohorts as a way for teachers to collaborate to be able to push the standards and not lower them.
Do you collaborate with other charters at all?
So yes, we collaborate with Health Leadership High School. We are in the process of also becoming a big picture learning school where we have more access to resources and training for our project-based learning. We actually have a co-team sports with health. And so we have our basketball, our soccer, and our volleyball. So when it comes to the collaboration with the leaders, I want to acknowledge the support and the guidance of Dr. Escobedo and his team because it allows us to network and to push our resources to co-create internships and such.
And I have one last question on,
Mhm.
and I'm referencing the top graph on page 136 on liquidity.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, if instruction stuck with me after the last time I asked about this graph, that blue line should be closer to the orange, is that correct?
This actually shows that the school has done a really good job of managing their funds. I'm sorry, Board President Gonzalez and Board Member Dominguez and Dr. Blakey. So this actually shows that the school has really been doing a good job of managing their funds. However, we can anticipate in the latest financial documents for that number to dip a little bit. They did move to a new location, and so that's typical for charter schools as they save funds for moving new furniture, the new facility, that'll go down. So you really saw that build up with the savings for that new facility that they.
So you did go into a new facility recently.
Yes, as President Gonzalez, members of the board, and Superintendent Blakey, yes, we moved from a 12,000 square foot building to a 60,000 square foot building in January 2025. So that's what we have really focused on, was to fulfill our mission and vision and be able to provide the space for the tech to happen in our school.
Okay, so that accounts for what the graph, the uptick. Okay. Would the council like to add anything?
Yeah, President Gonzalez, Superintendent Duran Blakey, and the rest of the board. I just want to provide just a little bit of insight into the school and a little bit of a anecdotal just topic. I'm a product of the International District, and went to Highland High School. And one of the things, I've worked in tech for several years, and I've been a board member of this school now for about 9 years, and the president for 5. And the work that this school does for the students and how they do it is something that I'm very proud to be a part of. And the type of work that is done, how they engage the students, how they take these students and re-engage them into project-based learning. And not just that, but also the social and emotional learning side of it, and the amount of support that these kids have is something that I've never seen before. And it's I just want to, while I've got the mic, the attention of the board, I just want to praise the team that I get to be a part of, and the school and all the students.
Great. Thank you. And thank you, Member Dominguez. I think Member Benavides, you also had a question?
I did. Thank you so much.
Great, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Gonzalez. So my question is the same question I asked the last team. Are your board members up to date with their required trainings, and how do you monitor this?
So
Because I didn't find it in the report. I apologize.
it's okay. Thank you for asking that question. President Gonzalez, members of the board, and Superintendent Blakey. Yes, so we have several access points to where our board members can be certified. And so, yes, they get their annual training, they're up to date. And we go through PCSNM, so the Public Charter Schools of New Mexico, where Kelly Callahan, as Siembra, had stated before, she's a trainer that we have contracted before. When our board members cannot attend the Public Charter School board, then we contract with her to complete them.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Member Benavides. Any additional questions?
I just have one.
Member Tomorito, you have the floor.
Could you just share with us I know you have night classes and your enrollments are high. Just share with us your perspective and why you started those classes.
So President Gonzalez, members of the APS board, and Superintendent Blakey, and I, so when we looked at creating a charter school, I had been in APS as a school social worker for 11 years previous to this. We wanted students who had aged out. We had seen them in my work at Highland High School and my work, throughout
the district. We wanted to provide an opportunity for students 18 through 22 to gain their diploma rather than the GED, because it allowed them more access points into higher education and to credentials and certification. So the idea behind the night school was to provide that opportunity for students who had given up. And as a re-engagement school, that was part of our mission and vision.
And currently, what are your numbers within your, I know it said 133, something like that. And you've had when did you start? Because it stated you had over what, 300 students that have attended?
So we have, sorry,
We'll try and look for the page.
President Gonzalez, Superintendent Blakey, and board members. So yes, what we had done as kind of, how do I say this? A response to the community need. And so in doing so, we wanted to provide an education for each and every student. And so we currently hired a special ed teacher. So we have 2 teachers. We have 2 education assistants who are also alumni of Tech. And what we do is that we support them through with the project-based learning. Originally, we had done a CELIS as a credit recovery. What we are doing now is we are having our night school students, instead of an online program where they check in with a teacher, they're coming in and they're doing projects along with the ingenuity, because we switched over. And so the idea behind our students is that we have the day in person, we have the night school, but the idea is that they have the same access to paid internships, to the certifications, and to our tech pathways that we have developed.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any additional questions? And Member Astorga, any questions? All right, seeing or hearing none, we do have a motion and a second, so I'll turn to you, Dr. Albright, for a roll call vote, please.
Ronaldo Tomorito,
Yes.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Danelle Astorga.
Yes.
And Yo Gonzalez.
Yes, so the motion carries, and thank you again to the team, the charter team, as well as the Tech Leadership High School team. Thank you for that. Members of the board, it has been brought to my attention that the previous vote 2 agenda items ago on the motion to consider acceptance of the progress monitoring report for progress monitoring report for interim goal 3.2 career pathways was not fully recorded, which is necessary for the integrity of our minutes for the board. And so to correct the record, we need to revisit that agenda item. And so the Robert's rules for this, the process is a motion to reconsider, which must be made by a member who voted in the affirmative for that agenda item. And so will a member who voted yes on agenda item 5.1, please make a motion to reconsider that vote.
Board President Gonzalez, I will make that motion. So I move to reconsider the vote on the motion to approve the progress monitoring reports for interim goals 3.2 career pathways. This is Member Jackson.
Thank you. And do we have a second on the motion to reconsider?
I'll second. This is Board Member Benavides.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to reconsider that vote. Dr. Albright, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Yes.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Again, yes.
Danelle Astorga.
Yes.
Yo Gonzalez.
Yes. And so acknowledging that is our motion to reconsider. And so now we need to do the reconsideration. The motion to reconsider has passed. And so the original question is now before the board again. We do have the motion and the second, and I think those stand from the previous motion. And so that motion is in place. So for the complete record required for the minutes, can we please have a roll call vote again to consider acceptance of the progress monitoring report for interim goal 3.2?
Ronaldo Tomorito.
Yes.
Courtney Jackson.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes, again.
Danelle Astorga.
Yes.
And Yo Gonzalez.
Yes, so the motion carries. Thank you, board members and board services staff for that clarification. The next item on our agenda is the president's report. And so as usual, we do want to address public forum and acknowledge that while it is not an opportunity for dialogue, we do want each speaker to know that you were heard and that we will work with the administration on resolutions. Some of the issues that we heard tonight were regarding children's health and well-being, support for both Ciambrá Leadership High School and Technology Leadership High School, and support for the charter renewals. Additionally, we want to acknowledge that on December 17th, prior to our board meeting, we do have a reception for outgoing board members, and so encourage the community, the staff, as well as those outgoing board members to invite folks who you would like to invite to that reception. It's at 4 o'clock here at City Center. And also just a reminder for all outgoing board members, you will have an opportunity to provide comments during the board meeting itself. So we'll go through the December 17th meeting agenda, and then we'll open the floor to comments from the outgoing board members. And so this is a reminder to go ahead and prepare your comments should you wish. Additionally, we did host a legislative open house this week, and so do want to express appreciation to the staff for putting that together, for hosting that event, for the board members who were able to attend, as well as for the legislative members who were able to attend, and also just wanted to extend an ongoing open invitation for any members of the legislature to continue to learn about APS, how APS is rising, and all of the great work that we are seeing happen within our district. In terms of deadlines and reminders, and a reminder that our self-evaluation score is due to board services and to me by December 15th. So this is the Monday before the board meeting, so to provide an opportunity to consolidate all of those scores. So it's a different deadline than our sort of traditional deadline, and we've kind of discussed already why that is. Additional reminders are in the at a glance report as well. And then wanted to do a reminder too, that all of the previous at a glance issues content is available through the link that we receive. And so it was also brought to my attention that there was a full explanation provided on the Perkins Grant in particular and what the Perkins Grant funds on October 17th. So if there's questions about the Perkins Grant, that's available in the at a glance from October 17th. And so we don't need the staff to do any additional information on that one. Finally, we do have a opportunity for the board to adopt a family for the holiday season. So we have a sign-up list which should be going around. And so hope everyone takes the opportunity to sign up for some items on that list. And then we do have a deadline of December 11th of having those items here to City Center. And so the time frame and the deadlines were mentioned in previous at a glance messages. We now have the wish list for the family. And so that wish list is available here on the dais, and we'll make sure everyone has a chance to sign up for that. That concludes the president's report. And the next Board of Education meeting is on Wednesday, December 17th at 5:05 p.m. or immediately following the Finance Committee meeting here at the Allison Bruce King Educational Complex at 6400 Uptown Boulevard Northeast, and live streamed at aps.edu.